So now we've had the walk around outside, and what do you think of the looks?
The looks are distinctive. I think that...
Does that mean you don't like it?
Well, I think that one nice crease line is good. 20 is not necessarily 20 times as good.
Have you been in politics at all? You're saying it's distinctive. What do you think of the back doors? I like that as a feature.
The back doors with the...
Concealed handle.
Concealed handles is... Yeah, I think that, again, is very strong design. It's not just a simple handle that might have been on old Alphas. It's got some sort of graphic design around it as well.
Because there's been a lot of concealed handle sort of doors in the past. Now, Honda have used it too. I think it's a nice little feature, and it adds to a coupe look.
Well, it makes it that way, but then again, this handle stands out a bit. It's not as if it's hidden. It's got these sort of angles around it. So it's a little bit each way. Because
we'd be very unlikely to find it otherwise. Do you know, can I tell you quickly a story? We had one of those LCVs, I think it was one of the Colorados, but it was not the full dual cab version. It was one that had kind of mini back doors. And I went to pick some friends up at the airport, and we didn't realise that the back doors actually opened. We thought they were fixed, so both of them got in through the front because they didn't realise the back. Oh dear.
Well, again, that's an issue of not being used to a car. Yeah, it's meant to make it look like a coupe. Yeah. That's not over important to me. Why. Yeah. So I think if there's room in the market for a Nissan Duke, then perhaps there is some of the design features of this, perhaps not quite as extreme, but
well,
certainly...
do you think that the Duke doesn't sell very much though, does it?
No. So. But this is a Toyota, and this is, for heaven's sake, they finally got a small compact onto the market. Yeah. You know, a glaring gap in their fleet for a long time.
So we've got the distinctive looks. I particularly like the front. I think that looks smashing. I think that, although you probably shouldn't say smashing in reference to cars. What do you think of the back?
I think the back is... It's almost got a look to it a bit like John Howard's eyebrows. You know, they sort of go and stand out and go up a little.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I think that's just a little too strong.
Does that mean it's going to be thrown into the gutter at the end of its term? No. Well, we can edit that bit out. Don't worry about that. Now, so tell me about the engine.
1.2 litre turbocharged, 85 kilowatts and 185 newton metres of torque, which get to the maximum at 1500 revs.
That's pretty good.
Very impressive.
85 kilowatts, not a whole lot.
No.
How did you find that it performs?
It's all right. You know, you're not buying this to chuck wheelies.
So it's not going to give you an instant facelift, but it's adequate for...
I'm comfortable with it.
We could do with an instant facelift.
Well,
I wouldn't mind a bit of a...
I think we'd have to get in the Tesla for the need of...
Well, indeed, we were in the Tesla, and I remember the look on your face. It looked like you were giving birth. Transmission?
A CVT, but it does have stepped functions, which of 7 steps that you can get. It does, and certain models have certain drive modes availability to them.
The step modes, that's just under hard acceleration, is that right?
Well, you can also manually do it.
Right.
If I move the gearbox over to the right, so I'm now in second.
Now, do we have paddles?
No.
No steering wheel paddles?
No.
Okay. While we're on the steering wheel, do you want to tell me about the buttons?
The buttons are pretty fundamental. We have a lever down the side for the cruise control. We have this one actually has things like lane departure warning button to it, and I can adjust the cruise control to it as well, trip, and of course most of the things to do with the entertainment system. I say one thing, the voice actuated system drove me insane.
Have you ever met one that works well except for Siri?
Yeah, no,
Well, actually, you can't even get Siri to work.
technology. I found that I wanted to change, to first get the radio.
Yeah.
I was on Bluetooth because I
Yes.
was listening to a podcast.
Yes.
I then wanted to change to radio. And words like radio and frequency, and I then wanted to change from AM to FM or vice versa. It has this long pause before it says, "No, I don't understand." So you
You'd
say,
be better off just reaching over for the button.
"Oh, look, it took me 20 minutes of frustration as I was driving along without ever getting total resolution."
Now, well, look, I find that with a lot of cars, drives me bananas. But one thing, at least, you may not like this Toyota head unit, but at least it's relatively easy to use.
Oh yeah, it's clear. It sticks out. Like graphic designs on the outside of the car, it's certainly not the flat, fascia sort of thing here. It has elements of angles and designs to it. From your point of view, it's also got square edges.
It does.
Around.
I like all of that, but of course, David, they've fallen over at the final hurdle look.
Oh, right.
See?
It's got a little bit of curvature.
It's not
to
the
it.
same on both sides.
It's square this side
Yes, you
and
see.
curve that side.
You see? Yeah. It's that designer that wants slapping. Now,
I'll have to go back and totally rewrite my review.
because you said I liked it and I didn't. Do you feel that this head unit, though, it's company-wide on many of their models, many of the Toyota models? Do you feel that this is a bit of a default and that it is not as good as it could be?
I find I can use it fairly well. There's certain graphic things that I struggle with a little, but commonality across there, to some degree I don't mind. I remember hopping out of a Prado into a Land Cruiser, and it was different.
But most people that aren't us won't be doing that, so it won't make any difference.
If you upgrade from one to the other, I actually don't get worked up. I'm the little guy that eats a meal and enjoys the flavour, but I also want nourishment out of it. Yeah. So I don't just want the looks of it or to be different for the looks of its sake. I like its function as well.
Right. The seats comfortable?
Not too bad. A fair bit of side support I like, and I think it works well. Interior, I think, is rather good, although the rear window is very small to look out of.
But it's got that coupe look on the outside, and so the trade-off, I think, for that is, that the back.
You see, that's flavour rather than sustenance.
Yeah.
Right.
But do you think that? Most cars don't have people at the back.
Oh no.
You look at any day of the week. 95% of the people driving along past you don't even have an extra person in the car. It's just the driver.
Oh, yeah. There's no question of that. I will say, in driving it too, it is very quiet. I had a colleague who owns a Suzuki Vitara, the little one, and he got in this and said, "Oh, gee, it's quiet."
Yeah.
Well, we know the Suzuki is a bit noisy, and he immediately notices it. It's comfortable to drive, easy to do, steering's, precise enough, light enough, really, for the sort of thing I want to drive it with, without driving hard with huge, great, racing car feel.
I must admit, we've driven into the sun. I want to make this point before we go back to Toyota. There's some sparkles in that piano black, which I hadn't previously noticed. Look.
Well, there you go.
It's actually got glitter in it. This car's been Mardi Gras.
It may surprise you, I actually didn't notice that.
No, well, but you can even know. It looked
very
like
faint.
It looks like it, but not when the sun's on it.
Ah.
That's a little bit of design for design's sake, which I quite like.
Okay.
Wrapping it up. Anything final?
Oh, look, I think finally they're into the market. I think they're distinctive in its looks. It's solid Toyota, well engineered. I think the engine and the drive of it is good enough. And, well, not good enough sounds a compromise. It's the right sort of package, I think, for this sort of thing. But the looks of it are purely to your own taste.
I'm getting from this you don't like the looks of it. Are you being diplomatic? Is that what you're doing?
Well, you know, I can't say looks are right or wrong, but for me, I just do find it a little bit too graphic design.
Let me put it to you another way. If you saw her sitting across the other side of the room at the bar, would you want to pick her up?
Now, a little bit of almost...
Or would you have to be drunk first?
A little bit of affectation about it, which I don't like. You know, as though...
You're saying she's got no teeth?
No, that she's sort of putting on a pose that... putting on a pose that really is not necessary, that I like it for her character more than the fact that she's not tarted up.
All right. Well, look, I tell you, I like it. I think it's a nice thing, and I think I agree with you. It's filling a spot in Toyota that has been sadly, up until now, ignored, if not neglected.